powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. Now, live from inside the Matt Black Kia Studios, it's Football at 4.
Football at 4 is powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. It's brought to you by Bet365. Whatever the sport, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. It's a happy hour Friday, and Adam Caplan has his midseason awards for the Birds. He's co-host of the Inside the Birds podcast. You knew that by now. You can find it on any podcasting platform or on their YouTube channel. Just search Inside the Birds. He is back for a happy hour Friday. Adam Caplan, what is good, my friend? How are you?
Mike, I'm well. So for Monday's show with Mosher and I, which drops on all platforms at 6 a.m. Eastern, we're doing our annual mid-season award show. Offense, defense, probably special teams we'll throw in there. We'll probably have 12 to 15 categories here. I'll just give you we'll have a short list here, but there'll be a couple that will surprise you. And one of the players we'll talk about on defense is a guy that I just think is totally underappreciated. And once again, the national media has no idea that, this is the NFL's best team by record. Yet there's some players who get absolutely no recognition, and I'm hoping certain guys get sort of found out by the media because there's some players who are playing really well, but we don't talk about them enough.
Yeah, well, we're going to take a look at some Eagles midseason awards. This team, we were talking about in the 3 o'clock hour, MVP of the entire league, and I thought A.J. Brown got a little disrespected. He's plus 7,500 at DraftKings. I mean, he's got Brock Purdy ahead of him, for God's sakes.
Mike, here's the thing, though, with receivers. An MVP has never been a receiver. We've had a running back, obviously quarterbacks. We've never had a wide receiver. A.J. Brown had
one kicker, by the way.
What's that?
One kicker.
Well, there was a kicker?
Mark Mosley, 1982, during the strike season. There you go.
Oh, geez. It couldn't have been Mark Mosley, was it?
Yeah, Mark Mosley, Washington.
Was it? I guessed.
Then the Redskins.
Washington, yes. He was number 3, and he was a straight-ahead kicker, if you remember, and Joe Theismann was his holder.
All right, Joe Theismann holding the football back when a starting quarterback may have held the ball for you there. How about that? Yeah, I mean, but I would say this. We're going to get into the Eagles midseason awards in a second here, but A.J. Brown and Tyreek Hill, 2 receivers that are in the conversation. Yeah. By the way, A.J. Brown plus 7,500. Tyreek Hill plus 2,500. Way different numbers, and I think Brown and Hill have been pretty comparable when you think about it. But I will say, this could be the year because, Adam, there's not a definitive quarterback right now.
See, Mike, this is the thing, though, and I vote in 2 polls. So when I look at it, well, you have to look at who's throwing the ball. Well, Tua Tagovailoa is having a very good season. I would not vote for MVP. He's not been that good. But Tyreek Hill's been great. Jalen Hurts has played better than Tua. Now, see, when you evaluate quarterbacks, and John D. Filippo told us this on for our Patreon, John admitted, look, when he evaluated Patrick Mahomes, and he was working for the Eagles then in 2017, it's hard to, when you evaluate quarterbacks in college, Mike, it's hard to totally see what the guy could become. And you have to take the ability, when the pocket breaks down, to make plays, and that's the part about Mahomes a lot of people did not really recognize. And the Seahawks, by the way, we're going to draft him in 2017, believe it or not. I'm not the only one who knows this myself, and I think The Athletic reported it years ago. Sometimes evaluators see stuff that most people don't see. Brett Veach, the outstanding GM, former Eagle personnel guy, played at University of Delaware with Matt Nagy. Veach was the one who pushed Andy Reid for Patrick Mahomes. Most people did not like Patrick Mahomes. So as I bring him up, he's not having an MVP type year. Now look at their receiver numbers aren't great. They're spreading the ball around like crazy. So if you're right, Mike, if you looked at the quarterback race right now, who could you really say has been great? I mean, there've been a lot of good ones, a lot of up and down. Now Joe Burrow's playing great right now, but remember, he was not playing well because of the calf injury. So, and also, Mike, one more thing before we go over my list. The passing numbers are down. Offensive point production is down. Why? Zone defenses, teams are not going to let you throw the ball downfield. That's why tight ends now are putting up strictly great numbers over the middle because they're not. You can't get the ball downfield as much.
Yeah, it's interesting because you're right. There is not Mahomes having a good year, but not an MVP year. Hurts, by the way, if you go to DraftKings, Hurts, Mahomes, and Jackson, They're all tied at plus 350 as the favorite right now to be the MVP. So think about that.
I won't. Honestly, again, I know this is only midseason, and Lamar Jackson is one of my favorite quarterbacks to watch. He's throwing the ball really well this season. New offensive coordinator, offensive scheme has changed completely, but he hasn't put up spectacular numbers.
No.
So yeah, you know what, Mike? I had not thought of it the way you put it out there. I think at least in the conversation as wide receiver, I think you're absolutely right. You got to look at it
for this season. Definitely, I think they're in the conversation. All right, let's look at the Eagles midseason awards. This is Adam Caplan's picks. Let's go offense first. So far, who has been the Eagles' offensive MVP?
A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown has been absolutely a man. I love watching this guy. For the first time I saw him at Titans practice, I guess when he was a rookie, was it 2018 he was a rookie? I'd been at their camp a couple times, and I just was like, wow, okay, I know they don't want to throw the ball very much, but this guy's pretty interesting. And then the thing that just floored me is when the trade got done during the draft of 22, I remember talking to someone with the Titans when the rumors were coming out he could be traded, because you got to understand, in our building, A.J. Brown, you could say, is our most valuable player and our biggest team leader. And that's not a slight on Ryan Tannehill, but just what he means, his ability to connect with his teammates and on the front office and coach. You don't really hear that about him enough, Mike. But I wanted to put that out there because this guy is a special player. He's elite, and as someone told me this week from another team, Harry Roseman did it again. He sees an opportunity. That first and third round pick, which people thought was giving up a lot. Are you kidding me? I would have given up 2 first round picks from this guy based on the way he played. Wouldn't you?
Yeah, hindsight 2020, of course. Yes,
I know. Seriously, it's special, dude. He's not. I mean, at this point, Mike, it's like the ball's going to him, but they can't stop him. It's like T.O., man.
It's right? And that's why I couldn't believe he was that far behind. I mean, numerically, him and Hill have had almost the same exact season, but for Hill to be that much favored over A.J. Brown, and they played each other, and Brown took the poor kid's lunch that day. I mean, it's crazy to me that Hill would have better odds than A.J. Brown. But I digress. Let's look at who has been the Eagles. This is interesting. Offensively, who has been the most improved player on offense?
Now, it's a guy on Inside the Birds we've rarely talked about this season. He's a guy who made the Pro Bowl last season. Now, we had said on our show last year he probably shouldn't have gotten there, more in reputation. He had a good year. Landon Dixon had a good year last year. But this year he's taken a jump. He's much better in pass protection. This has been a knock on him. Dominant with the run. He's a road grader, but he's much better in pass protection. He's elite right now. He really is. He's one of the best guards in the National Football League. Boy, I know it got criticized when they drafted him. Not that he wasn't a great value in the second round, Mike, but he had significant injury concerns. And again, they finally went to the Alabama well. Remember, for decades they ignored Alabama, Mike, and they get criticized for doing it. No one can understand why won't they draft people from Alabama? Now, obviously, it's a fountain for them,
or just the SEC in general.
Right. In Georgia, what the heck? Why weren't they going to that school? But now they are, and so far so good. I mean, he's in his third year, and by the way, he could get his contract extended after this season. He'll be eligible to have that done.
All right, let's look at. And by the way, you say most improved on the offense. I mean, not a lot of great candidates considering the team has basically brought everybody back and they had a good offense. I mean, I guess you can almost say A.J. Brown could win that award too. Yeah,
I mean, two starters on offense, Sayamalo left, Mike, and Miles Sanders, and oh boy, Miles Sanders, terrible with the Panthers.
Yeah.
But give the Eagles credit. They would have brought him back on a very reduced deal, just very, very cost-friendly. It never got anywhere because it wasn't going to happen. Miles got over $6 million. Highest paid free agent on the market at running back, and yet again, the Eagles make the right choice not to bring him back.
All right, let's go to the biggest surprise or disappointment on the Eagles' offense.
This one disappoints me. He made a surprise cameo. He started the second half at running back out of the blue, as Mosher says. What do they do, spin the wheel? Well, Rashad Penny would be that guy, Mike. Look, I know he's there because it's more of an insurance policy, but you got to be kidding me. Absolutely no role, no discernible role. He only dressed us not available due to a personal matter. And I guess the coaches, this staff, when they don't like a player, they don't need to say anything. They just tell you because they won't play the guy. And Gainwell and Swift got all the snaps in the first half, and Penny, I don't understand what they did. It was like we laughed on our show this week. It was like like Sirianni was saying to the front office, "Hey guys, see, we told you can't play. 2 carries for 8 yards, and they pulled him." Really bizarre to me, but yeah, I'm very disappointed. I expect a lot more out of him, and we have not gotten it at all.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, to me, it was like, hey, if this guy is healthy, how is he not the guy that you give the ball to? Well, he's healthy, and they ain't giving him the ball. So I'm with you on that. Very surprised with him. All right, let's go to the defensive side of the ball because there's a lot of options. We could probably have a little bit back and forth on some of these. Let me get your MVP on the defensive side of the ball.
This guy is their best overall defensive player. We're not talking about Reddick, he's rebounded really nicely off of the broken hand. He's been terrific. You could go to Fletcher Cox, who's had a very good season. We don't talk enough about him. B.G. in his reduced roles doing great in it. But the guy I'm going to mention is their best defensive player overall when you look at everything he does, and that's number 94, my favorite Eagle, Josh Sweat. I've been on this guy since 18. When all he did, he was actually used only on rundowns in 2018 under Doug Peterson's staff. And they obviously had to get over the injury problems. He is such a well-rounded player. There's nothing that he can't do. He plays with his hand down. He stands up. He plays inside sometimes in nickel. Tell me what he doesn't do well, Mike. He's good at everything, and he's the most underrated, underappreciated Eagle. I'm going to absolutely vote for if he keeps this up, Mike. He's having his best season. He was really good last year. But what I was saying on our show that dropped earlier this week, enough of this. He's a replacement. He gets the Pro Bowl because someone else got hurt. Forget about that. He needs to be voted in on the first team.
That's a good one. I think you can make an argument for Reddick. You can make an argument, but I think Sweat's been more consistent. Reddick got off to the slow start because of the thumb. You can certainly throw Jalen Carter into that mix, considering the one game they lost when he did not play. But Sweat is probably a fine pick for the people out there listening today. But I think that there's a couple. I think on the MVP on the offense, A.J. Brown, Hurts, if he's the MVP of the league, you'd have to think about him there. But much more candidates on defense, which is interesting. Let's go to who's the most improved defensive player?
Yeah, this guy we talked about in the offseason was doing a good job, but we would reserve judgment until we got through the preseason and training camp. And number 90, the big fella, Jordan Davis, who the word we got is he was practicing with a chip on his shoulder. Maybe it's because a lot of his former Georgia teammates were getting pub. I don't know. But he came in with a purpose. He got his weight relatively under control. I know it looks kind of funny when this jersey's out, but Jordan Davis has been an absolute force against the run. He's not good every game, but Mike, he's had some games where you go, holy bleep, wow. And this is what Howie Roseman and their front office found when they traded up for him. I know it looked bad last year. Before they had the high ankle sprain, he didn't play well, but he is a man. Over time, he'll figure out the pass rush stuff, but if you want to know why the Eagles have the best run defense, look no further than number 90. What a good story, Mike, he's been, and give their D-line coaches Tracy Rocker and Jeremiah Washburn real credit. They've done a great job with him, and kudos to him. I mean, Davis has taken his job seriously, and it showed.
All right, you take a look at most improved. He certainly has to be there, considering, you got a lot of new guys on this team. I mean, Blankenship, I guess, can be in that conversation. But really, other than that, I think Jordan Davis belongs in that one. All right, let's go to biggest surprise or disappointment. We had Rashad Penny on offense. Who's your pick on defense?
So we're going with surprises. And I had like 4 or 5, but here the first one I'm going to actually both, I should say. I didn't see it all before the season. One of them actually got cut. That's Nick Morrow. Look. He's a smaller guy. He's in the teens, Mike. He's somewhere around 218 to 220. And I know today's linebacker is smaller, but again, he was cut. He wasn't even good enough to make the team, Mike. And he got pressed into service, about the 3-sack game. But he's answered the bell. He's their best linebacker in coverage, former safety in college at Division III Greenville. He's done a really nice job. And the other guy, I didn't see it at all. I'm not saying he's playing great, but he's answered the bell when pressed into service. And now this last game wasn't nice, but overall, Eli Ricks not only making the team, but being a serviceable outside corner and being pressed in a nickel when being asked to do it, Mike. good story. I'm a little surprised now. I know some personnel people we've talked to around the league don't think this will last because there's a reason why he wasn't drafted. But you know what? It is what it is. And to this point, he's been a big surprise and a nice story.
Yeah, I got to maybe even think about Zach Cunningham, too. I mean, you signed this guy, and he has been the steadiest player on defense, right? I
would have to say he's their best inside linebacker. He's an unbelievable force. He's so good at diagnosis. You know, that was the reason why he was seen as one of the best inside linebackers in football for a short period of time with the Texans is because he's such a run stopper and a great diagnoser against that. But then, unfortunately, two things happen. Not good against the pass, although he's been better here against the pass, better than anticipated. And with the injury problems that he had, that's why the Texans got rid of him. That's why the Titans got rid of him. But so far, so good. Boy, good story here. And that's it. You know, now we're going to have on Monday's show, we're going to double this list easily. And we'll have some kind of surprises. But overall, we really like doing these shows because it makes, and everyone we like on our YouTube page, I know they like to chime in and give their list. Feel free to do it when we put the show up. You'll see the comments, and it's always interesting to see where people don't agree, and people get angry at some of the names here, and then they'll go, hey, what, this guy's not as good as you think he is. That's fine. Everyone's entitled to their opinion, but it's always good to go over these lists and see where players are at. Yeah, that, and obviously the Eagles on the bye this week. They'll play Kansas City. They got this 5-game stretch. I really want to get a couple quick things on Nakobe Dean, this injury. Do you look at Morrow as an upgrade over Dean? Is this injury kind of like, yeah, it's bad for Dean, but it's actually an upgrade for the defense? Well, against the pass, yes. Morrow's better in pass coverage than Dean. Dean's just not good at it. He's a better blitzer. I know Morrow did not blitz in all three of those sacks, by the way, against Washington. It's not true from what we're told. But Dean is amazing when he's dialed in. He does some things that you can't really teach. But unfortunately, Mike, it's out of the window now. 2 different foot injuries. This one is fairly significant. It could be actually really significant, depending on what kind of, if he needs a procedure, which we'll know very soon. We'll talk more about that on Monday's show. It's a shame, it really is. The knock on him was Mike coming out of the draft. Now, people were worried about his upper body, pectoral, chest, shoulders. That's not been the problem, Mike. It's been 2 foot injuries. Very, very strange. Yeah, that's I had thought that Dean was going to be an impactful player. He hasn't been, and it's a shame of the injuries. We might never see the Dean that we were hopeful to get, but that there. Tight end Goddard, are they going to stick with what they got? Jack Stahl, Grant Calcaterra, Albert O, those 3 guys, or we see, I don't know, maybe do they go less tight end and more 3 wides? Yeah, we think it'll be like last year. You'll see Stahl and Calcaterra. Albert O is new to that. He's very athletic, can't really block very well. Calcaterra's improved as a blocker, but he's not nearly as good as Stoll. That's it. I mean, they could balance from 2 tight ends to 3. To 1 to 2, depending on from a down-and-down basis. They did this last year when Goddard was out. They have experience at it. Not that they want to have it, Mike, but it is what it is, and they'll have to deal with it. It's a little troubling, to be honest with you, Mike. It's just kind of one of the things that you hate that it's going to happen. Goddard will return. It's not like he won't return this season, but he's going to be out a bit. Last one for Adam Caplan. And, of course, don't forget the Inside the Birds podcast. They'll have plenty more on all this stuff. And check that out wherever you listen to your podcast. How concerned are the Eagles about Hurts' injury to that knee? Do you think it's something that they're really concerned about in that building or not really? No, I mean, look, they're going to get him off his feet. We talked about that on our show that dropped on Wednesday, and that's a big thing, Mike. No, the bye came at the right time, no question. All good. All right, Adam Caplan is back next week. Football at 4 is back next week, and the Eagles are back next week. They'll take on Andy Reid Chiefs. By the way, the Chiefs also have a bye, so no advantage for anybody here. They're both coming off of a bye for the Super Bowl rematch, and they're not going to play on ice this time around, I've been told. Yeah, with the bad grass. Yeah, that was an absolute embarrassment. Yeah, you're absolutely right. All right, Adam, have a good weekend, man. You too. Adam Caplan, co-host of Inside the Birds podcast, which you can find on any podcasting platform or their YouTube channel. Good stuff there. I like that little mid-season award thing there.